Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Traders Academy. Today we're going to talk a little bit about you hear me mention a lot about, when you enter a trade, put your stop, where it belongs. Don't put your stop where you want to stop out, where you want it to be. You have to put it where it belongs. Well, how do you identify that? How do you find out where your stop belongs? Well, we're going to touch on that today. We're going to touch a little bit on that, and also a little bit on the trade line vwap cross. So let's get started here. Today is January the 12th, 2021, and we got BIOL on the screen. And this is a trade that we put in today. We are currently up, still holding some. We're currently up 57% on the trade. We've took some profits, but we're still in the position. So BIOL had some news this morning. I learned it on BIOL that had earlier news that it announced an agreement with DSO Dental Care Alliance to expand laser adoption in dental offices across the United States. So when the stock opened, it gapped up, of course, and this is where it opened right here. The first thing you want to identify on a stock, I don't ever trade right at the, I very seldom trade right at the open. Sometimes I do, but you got to take this into consideration. When you go in on the first 15 minutes, there's not much data there. Unless there's a clear defined setup, and even then you're taking more risk because there's just a lot more volatility during that time. There's a lot more trading and selling going on, and so sometimes it's better to wait. I usually try not to enter during the first 15-20 minutes, but if I see something that I like and catches my eye, I may take a position. But anyway, the first thing you want to do is when you're looking at a stock, and if it gaps up, the first thing you want to do is identify your initial morning high. Okay, so on this stock opened up at 0.71 and it put in a high of 0.7375. This is your initial morning high area. Okay, so about 0.74. So let me take this line off. Let me remove that line. I had that on earlier. So the first thing you can do, especially as a beginner trader, I would put in a line right there. Okay, so that you can remember that this is your initial morning high. Okay, you can, it depends on the broker you're using. You could also label it initial morning high. Okay, now we know that's our initial morning high. So this is our VWAP. This is our trade line. Trade line is a 9 EMA. Okay. Now, once I see that the initial morning high put in, now I want to draw out my fibs. Okay. You draw out your fibs, and there it is. So far, let's just assume this is all the data we have so far. Okay, it's all the data we have. Stock gaps up, pulls back, comes down, tests a 38.2 fib, and let's see. Yeah, so this tests a 38.2 fib, and you can see the trade line right here, right in that same area. Okay, so it tested both these levels, and it found support, and it pushed up. Managed to get back above VWAP. Very bullish candle here. It's not the best, but it's a bullish candle. It's, you see that tail, that's buyers stepping in. Now, still, that's not a clear setup for me, so I'll wait. Now here you could have entered a position if we didn't. Let's just assume we didn't have. Try to block that out. Right there. So here you see the break through the initial morning high. You don't want to enter right on the first break because you don't know if the stock is just going to go here and then pull back. Okay, you let it break. Then you could if you're an aggressive trader, You could do that, but you're taking on more risk. If you enter here, however, you have to risk down to this level, 0.70 area, or the low of day, which would actually be better because it could come down, test the low of day, put in a double bottom, and then shoot back up. But let's continue with the day. Now, in this candle, you could enter right here, since the pattern, the stock is confirming that it's trending up. You could enter in this area. I was concentrated on other stocks at the moment, and I was swapping, back and forth. I wasn't looking at this one right at this moment, and but you could have entered a position in this area, stop maybe below VWAP, a better stop around 0.70. Okay, now move on over, and the stock makes a new high. Okay, puts in a high of 0.8675. So let's just say 0.87. You can put in a resistance line there, 0.87. That's your new resistance area intraday. Now we have an initial morning high, we have our resistance area. This initial morning high should now act as support if the stock is strong. And if you notice your volume, when it put in the initial morning high, it was on good volume. Then you got a little pullback. And it was on lower volume. Okay, right there. Then you got your break. You got your break through the initial morning high on an increase in volume. You want to see a break of the initial morning high with an increase in volume. That confirms that this stock is strong, and that it will, it could have continuation. Not that it will, but it could. But now we got a new high. So now you want to draw out your fibs, extend them to the new high. Okay, now let's continue. Now, as the stock was doing this, I noticed, got a new high, got an initial morning high right here, which should act as support. We got the trade line VWAP cross right here. Okay, so when you get this, when this setup forms here, a trade line VWAP cross, usually you will see continuation. Not always, but usually. So that's that's part of the setup here. It's, that's two indicators right here. You got the trade line VWAP cross with separation right here, separating from VWAP, and the stock is coming down. It's testing VWAP. I was expecting it to bounce from VWAP, if not from the initial morning high. Okay, because we broke through the initial morning high with an increase in volume. So, but also you notice that it's kind of forming a triangle. And let me take these fibs out real quick. You see how it's kind of forming a triangle? Let me take this line out. You see how it's kind of forming a triangle pattern above this area? This is a bullish setup, and I always say, when I alert triangle above the initial morning high, that's a bullish setup, morning setup. So now you have trade line holding. You notice it bounced right off the trade line right here. It was a quick bounce. Stock came down, tested it, bounced, consolidated a little bit there, pulled back. I was expecting it to, if not bounce from there, bounce from VWAP. So right in this area, I decided, and I entered a position. And let me move my alerts over here so you can see. Maybe you can see these. Let's see. News alert. BIOL, trade line VWAP cross. Let's see. Right here. BIOL could make similar move to ZOM. ZOM, as these pennies have been getting really good follow through lately. And at 10:11 a.m. said long BIOL long at 0.79 with a stop at 0.70. Okay, now 10:09. Yeah, so it was on this candle right here, almost at the close. I was actually trying to hit that close. I was actually looking at the timestamp here, and I market ordered right when that candle was fixing to close, and I got filled at 0.79. I was hoping to get filled about 0.78, but 1 cent, what does it matter? But before I entered this trade, I had already identified where my support was. My support is going to be at 0.74. Therefore, I'm going to put my stop below the initial morning high, below the support area. So I'm going to put my stop about 0.70. And you can also see a little pivot low right here on this candle and this candle. So this is my stop right here. Breaks that, I'm out. Okay, now I'm risking 10 cents. Well, 9 cents. Let's just say you're risking about 10 cents. That is nothing. I mean, that is nothing. But once you know how much you're risking, from there you figure out your position size. So now you know how many shares to buy. If you watch my previous video, you'll know how to properly position size. If you haven't watched that video, I suggest you go and watch it on our YouTube channel, Traders Academy. And let's continue with this trade and see how it develops. Now, here you can kind of see triangle pattern right here was still intact. Then here it kind of got up, but if you can still move your trend line, the little white line, your upper descending trend line, and it was still holding up. Oh, and I had deleted that. Let me bring this back. If you also notice, right here we had the trade line, we had VWAP, and we had the 38.2 that was lining up with this initial morning high. So you got several things there indicating you that this stock has a possibility of going higher. You got initial morning high, that's 1. You got 38.2 fib, that's 2. You got VWAP and the trade line slightly above there. So it had a lot of potential. And let's take the fibs back out so we won't have all that clutter. That. Now, again, if you had entered this stock in this same level right here, let's say you entered in the same area and you was using VWAP, you said, well, the stock is above VWAP, I'll just use VWAP. You can't always just use VWAP. There's got to be a reason for you to find for you to use VWAP. I know a lot of times I say I'm stopping out at VWAP, but there's just because it's above VWAP doesn't mean it's going to hold VWAP. I mean, if it's really strong, yes, it should hold it. But this setup right here required you to use the initial morning high as support, therefore putting your stop slightly below the initial morning high, okay, in case it does what this stock did. So let's continue. Right here, let's say you had said I'm going to stop out at VWAP. Well, guess what? You enter the trade and it flushes on you below VWAP, only to jump back above VWAP a few minutes later, and now you're out of the trade. Now you're like, oh my God, I got stopped out. The stock is going to continue without me. And if you're a beginner trader, you're going to attack it again because you're like, oh my God, I was right. Let me get back in, and then it flushes again. Now you're stopped out twice for a loss. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Okay. Now here broke down below VWAP. Continued, and this was actually, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like this. It was actually on a bit higher volume, and I was like, well, I guess that setup is gonna fail. And and you got a higher increase in volume here on this pullback, and it broke the initial morning high. And I said, well, when I saw this, I was like, should I just stop out or should I hold? And I said, well, I'm going to hold. I'm going to hold to, to where my stop level is. My stop level is 0.70 right there. Well, what did the stock do? The stock came down, touched 0.70, and bounced. Confirms. So let's continue. And this stock was slow. It took a long time before it it decided to do anything. So by then, you keep extending your level here, your little triangle pattern. See that? Still got the little triangle there. Even though it broke it, it quickly bounced back above it, so the pattern is still intact. Never broke my stop. Okay? So I am still in this trade. And I was not nervous here. I was not nervous at all. And you say, well, why weren't you nervous? I mean, look how it was flushing. Why? Because I was following my plan. And also, if yes, if you get in this trade and if you take too much size, which you're only risking 10 cents, so it doesn't, but if you take too much size, you're going to be nervous right here. Of course you are. But if you're, position size properly, you're going to follow your plan, stick to it. If it breaks it, get out, and look for another trade. Now, finally, right here at around 12:18, it started to break above this little triangle. Let's continue. Now, let me bring back my alerts. BIOL, first take profit, high a day area. Okay? And I also alerted BIOL possible triangle forming above the initial morning high at 10:15 a.m. So that was right here where I alerted that the triangle was possibly forming above the initial morning high. Now let's continue. BIOL, heavy volume on that pullback, but waiting to see if it holds 0.70. Oh, this thing, yeah, as that is also now the 15-minute trade line here. This was at 10:44 a.m. If we go and look at it, sometimes you have to look at a different time frame. So if you go to 10:30, right here on this candle, right there where it was about to flush, I noticed that it was holding this trade line on the 15-minute. That is also a bullish factor. So I said, well, my support, my stop is right there, and it's also holding this trade line. If this trade line holds and it comes and crosses, I'm expecting a move higher, which we got. Now, let's go back to the 3-minute. I'm going to go ahead and remove this triangle there. Now, I said my first take profit is at the high day area. Let's go. Here it was testing that level. I didn't take profits there. And then I was like, well, I might have missed my opportunity, but we'll see. We're getting across, so we still, we're still in play. It's still strong. It's showing stronger actually, because you got more separation from VWAP now. And not to mention we was having to cross also on the 15-minute as we just looked a little while ago. And then we come here and we touch the prior high. So then I said, let's see, BIOL held that 0.70 beautifully. Now reclaiming VWAP, testing high day. BIOL took some profits at 0.86 at 1:11 p.m. I think it was right here. So I took some profits at 0.86 right in this area. So let's see, let's first put in my entry here. It's my entry. Take profit. Let's remove that so you won't get confused. Now let's extend. I got a line here at $1 because that was also prior resistance, which should now act as, which will act as resistance. It's also a psychological number. I got that in green because I want that to act as support tomorrow in case of any pullback. See, BIOL took some profits, 0.86. BIOL will take more profit in front of or at $1 area depending on price action. We do have some resistance at 0.90 that we have to get over. BIOL new high day. BIOL testing $1. BIOL took more profits, 0.99 for 25% profits. May swing the rest of this position. This was at 2:12 p.m. right there. Okay, so that was my second take profit, 0.95. And I said I may swing the rest of this position. And let's continue higher. And you can see the stock went to 115, pulled back, and it got below the trade line a little bit there. But as I said, I was planning on swinging this because penny stocks have had a lot of follow through here lately. So I said, well, worst case scenario, I'll stop out around 0.87, the prior high. I'm still going to be, in a little bit of profit, not as much as I'd like, but some profit. Well, go into after hours and look at the move it made. And I didn't take profits here either. I'm still holding. So I'm expecting this to maybe make a move in pre-market, possibly go to 150. If it does, I'll take more profits there and hold on to some. But that, let's go back. Let me take this pre-market off. But that is all about finding your proper stop. Okay, that is key to making a successful trade, as you can see. Now, let's look at another stock. I didn't trade this stock. I think it was, yeah, I think it was Fubo. Yeah, I was wanting to trade options on this, but I missed my entries. Yeah, I could have chased it. I could have FOMO'd into it, but I didn't want to do that. Once I miss my entry, I just let it go. If it sets up again, I'll take another position. But you can see the stock. Let me zoom in. So you can see this stock here. Same thing. You got the trade line. It opened up, pulled back, and let me show you something else here real quick. Look where we found support. Look, support on the prior resistance level. See that? A couple of days back. But anyway, came down, found support right there around the 29.50 area, but then it made a trade line VWAP cross. See that cross? Came up, found resistance at the initial morning high. This is the initial morning high. It found resistance there, pulled back, broke down below VWAP a little bit, but the trade line never broke down below VWAP. So the stock just consolidated right there. Consolidated. Then you got the separation, and then the rest, there she goes, just makes a move. This is a good example of a trade line VWAP cross, and working out, doing what it's supposed to do. So I don't know if Plug had, I don't remember, I think it did. Yeah, so I was watching Plug, and the same thing. I was wanting to buy more options for this. We played Plug the other day, made a very good profits on it, and I was wanting to take more calls on it today. But trade line was coming up, never got the cross, pulled back down, And the same thing, it just kept trying to cross VWAP, couldn't do it. And finally, right here around 2:27 p.m. it started to make that cross. And once it did, you can see what it did after that. I mean, once it got that trade line VWAP cross, separation, volume started coming in, stock just extended, and it went crazy after hours. So beautiful trade. If it was a beautiful trade that you could have put in there. I missed it. I was concentrated on other stocks. But that is the trade line VWAP cross. That's what the trade line VWAP cross does. And the trade line is the 9 EMA. 9 EMA, 9 exponential moving average, not the simple moving average, the exponential moving average. Okay? And this is on the 3-minute chart. Only on the 3-minute chart. I don't use any other time frame when I trade intraday except for the 3-minute, 15-minute. Sometimes I glance at the 60-minute, 30-minute, but I hardly ever use those. Usually just the 3-minute, 15-minute, and then the daily. And the daily we will use to find support and resistance levels. Let's go look at BIOL. So BIOL, as you can see, I got resistance levels already marked there. I'll leave those lines there. I got them all already set there, and I go by these levels. If I'm in the trade and I'm approaching one of these levels, if I want to take profits, I'll take profits in front of that level. If I'm looking for support, I use same thing. These are resistance areas. Stock previously held, $1 was resistance, support area right here. Same thing with $1.25. I mean, you can see right there is support right there. See support all in this area, and you just look so on. You got to go to the left. You got to go to the left of the charts. And I know it looks, you're like, oh my God, how can you tell anything right there? Well, you zoom in. Zoom in, and you just find your resistance areas, and resistance areas. Then you bring it. You can put it on your chart. I already got this chart set up for tomorrow. Let's see. On BIOL, prior. This is today's high. It's 115. I'm expecting that to hold primary support. If that doesn't hold, I'm looking for the prior close to hold support, where it closed at $1.04. So I'm just going to say $1. That should hold support. That's my final support. If that doesn't hold, then I expect the stock to go further down. But again, I am hoping we gap up, and this 125 level, that should hold. If we gap up. If we gap up higher than 150, then I'm expecting 150 to hold on a pullback. So that is pretty much it. That is pretty much it. I don't know if let's see. Well, Sun W, that was a swing trade we made, and I'm not going to cover that because we took that trade a few days ago. GSAT, we took that trade a few days ago. So yeah, that is it for today. I'm going to keep it short today. I know I always make these 1-hour videos. At least today we only ran into 29 minutes. So that is it, guys. I hope you learned something from this video. If you do, please give us a like on the YouTube channel, and if you have any suggestions or if there's something you want us to cover, don't hesitate to leave it on the comments. Thank you, and see y'all tomorrow.